Hey everyone. Today I wanted to talk a little bit about how to balance having a hobby farm and a full-time job off the farm. Um, a lot of people, like Joel Salatin, talk about having to do this until your farm produces enough for you to quit your town job, as he calls it. For me, this is a lot closer to a hobby than um, I guess, sustaining dream for paying the bills. So I live on a couple acres in rural Texas, but I actually work a work from home job as a software engineer. So I'm pretty blessed to have the ability to cut a commute out and also the need to live near a city. I think these are probably two of the biggest roadblocks that people face is if they want to have some sort of hobby farm or homestead, they have to be out, rural, living rural. And of course, it's hard to balance that and also having a corporate job that pays for that type of lifestyle. I think the 2020 pandemic made a lot of jobs kind of go permanently remote. And a lot of companies realized that you can do a lot of these remotely. And so I've just been, in a sense, really lucky that I reached the job market at that time. And ever since working a remote job, I kind of realized that this is what I want to do way better than commuting for 30 minutes to an hour a day. And so I just started saving up and also kind of started loving this lifestyle when I got ducks in my backyard in 2022. And so that's when we decided, let's hitch it out into the country and I get some high-speed internet and I just work remotely while following the kind of the hobby farm dream. So I recognize that's not really possible for everyone. It's kind of a really blessed situation I get to be in. I know a lot of jobs can't be done remotely. A lot of jobs require you to be near a major city to get good pay, etc. But if you can, it's something you can work toward. There are remote jobs out there for a lot of fields, engineering and business fields. And, you just have to work and prep your interview skills to be able to compete for those jobs. So how do I balance this and working a full-time job? Well, I talked about how I'm remote. So that obviously takes care of a lot of your day. Sorry, these guys are super noisy. I mean, it's kind of fun, but, if you're remote, you don't have to commute, so that's a benefit. In the morning, I wake up before I start work, and I spend probably 15, 20 minutes, not very long, refilling water if necessary, and filling up food, checking food levels. So I come over here. I've got one feeder here. You can see I've got some guineas and chickens eating. I've got water right here. I've got two other water bins here. You can see my emus. I've got two pools over here. And then I've got some dog food over here, which the emus eat. You see them eating that. And I've got some more chicken feed. So I check all of these. I usually dump the water because it's pretty nasty after one day. And so I refill the water, just stick the hose in there and refill. It really doesn't take very long though. Like I said, 15, 20 minutes in the morning. I mean, these guys really just don't require that you do too much. They free range in about I don't know what this is, maybe a quarter or half acre or something. I fenced this in when we first moved here, and he's thinking of attacking my foot. And they obviously have some coops here where they sleep at night. The chickens all go in there. The door automatically closes and opens, so I do nothing for that at night. And the geese and ducks go into this metal building over here. So the morning's pretty easy. 15, 20 minutes. I go to work. At lunchtime at work, I can take an hour lunch because I work a 9-hour day, so it's an 8-hour day really because of the 1-hour lunch break. I usually take about 20-30 minutes at lunch, come out here and I dump the nasty water, especially on hot days. I dump the water and refill with cold water. I think they appreciate that. I also like sometimes shower them with water when it's really hot just to keep them cool. And I check food again, just make sure everyone's doing okay. Honestly, that part, the lunchtime check-ins, is kind of optional. If you had to go into the city to work, you probably could skip it. I just do it because it helps. You know, if you do everything 3 times a day instead of 1 time a day, you don't have to do as much in one sitting. Also, when it's really hot, I think they just appreciate getting fresh water, but I don't think it's like life or death if they don't get that. So it also helps I can like clean stuff up in the afternoon. But like I said, you really don't need to if you can't. So far, you know, the required amount of time so far for the day has been 15 or 20 minutes. Then after I finish work, I do another probably solid 30 minutes where I do the same thing, water, food, clean up in here, pitter patter around doing chores, keeping it tidy in here. It's really easy for stuff to just be all over the place and for it to look ratty. I mean, it still kind of does, but at least it's somewhat sectioned off. So on a given day, you can probably get everything done in about 45 minutes, 15 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evenings. And that's just like the basic stuff. Honestly, even in the evenings, you could probably bump that down to 15 minutes if you're just doing water and food. Everything else is just like cake on the top. Like, watching them is fun for me. So I'll come in here and I'll sit in these chairs and watch them. And, doing little tasks where I build stuff, like this coop over here for my quail. This is actually quail in here. If I've ever shown that. I've shown that in like old videos. But there's quail in here. So obviously not very much time you have to spend. I mean, these guys are more closer to probably closer to pets than they are livestock, but I still I don't really, you know, handle them because there's just too many. And I'm not, you know, trying to get them to be like lap pets. So they really just do their own thing, and I kind of just help them stay alive, and I watch them. I just get a lot of enjoyment from having all these guys around, and raising them. The goats and sheep are in a totally sectioned off area. Over here on the other side of the property, they have about 1.5 acres to free range. It goes all the way into the forest down there behind the house, around the other side here. But they don't interact with the chickens and ducks and geese and emus because they just gorge themselves on chicken feed, and I can't. I've tried putting the chicken feed into like a small place and they still climb in and eat it because goats will go anywhere for food. So I just decided keeping them separate so that I could free feed the chickens all day would be easier. So they're in a separate area. And like I said, the goats and sheep also similar deal. When I'm out here in the mornings and evenings, I'm looking at their water. They actually require a lot less, honestly. I just refill their water like once every few days because they don't get nasty. They just drink it. They don't, you know, swim in it and poop in it. So they're easy. And then the goats and sheep, I buy like a square bale of hay every week right now for like $20 because it's late summer, early fall here, and it's been pretty dry in Texas and hot for most of the summer. So once they ate through all the grass and bushes, not really anything has grown back. I'll probably in the winter, I'll probably keep the goats and sheep in a section of that 1.5 acres over there, and then let everything else kind of regrow out here for the spring. Then once spring hits, I'll probably release them into the 1.5 acres to eat again. I didn't have to feed them any supplemental feed between like June and mid-August. It's only recently that they've eaten away basically everything and just nothing's growing back. So I mean, I have a very sloped property, so it all kind of I don't really have any grassland in the first place. So it was a lot of bushes and tall grasses that were already here. So we're talking like 30 minutes of mandatory time on farm to do what I do for something like 30 plus birds and 8 goats and sheep. So it's really not that bad. I mean, you know, you can scale that. You know, I could probably double the amount of goats and sheep and double the amount of birds, and the time taken to refill things would still be 30 or 40 minutes a day. It would just cost more because I'd have to refill at a quicker rate. So what's the future of the hobby farm? I think at some point I'd like to breed the goats and sheep, and I would maybe sell the kids on Craigslist. That would probably recoup my money spent on their food, but I wouldn't really make any money. As for the birds, if you take it seriously, you can make pretty good money breeding and selling them if you pure breed some rarer breeds. For example, the emus that I have, they go for $200 a piece. Now, they don't lay very many eggs per year, but when they do start laying eggs, if I were to incubate those, I mean, I could sell a few emus per year for almost, $1,000 for just a couple emus. So that's another option. I think I'd like to have that sort of thing going. I don't think I'd make a significant money from it, but might offset the cost of my hobby. So I guess we'll see. Yeah, that's kind of the video.